Marriage can be full of utopia and bliss, or filled with challenges and stress. But definitely, marriage is a journey. How do you handle your baggage? With Stephen and Ann Butterfield.
Tonight, right now, we are here with Stephen and Ann Butterfield. They are the authors of Marriage, The Journey. How do you handle the baggage?
First of all, you're told that there is baggage, okay? You brought that out.
I mean, the title alone lets you know that there is a life that has been lived, there is an experience that's been had, there is an allowance of God using your lives to, first of all, go through the journey. Amen. And then turn around and bring it back to people who are in need. Yeah. So talk to us about God, taking you on that journey, first of all, because I know there's so many other things that you're involved with. But with the book, talk to us about God taking you through that journey and how he got you to reveal that baggage to everyone else. That's very vulnerable.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here tonight. And we'll give a shout out to Archbishop Ruth Smith.
Amen.
And Bishop Kevin Jones and those of Light of the World. We're just, after 2 failed marriages, I wanted to find out what does it take for marriage to work. And so I sought God. I went to all the conferences I can, read all the books I can, and God began to give me different things. And he said, marriage is not a destination. It is a lifetime journey. That's why we say until death do us part. And so it's a lifetime journey. And in a journey, you have differences. You have different time, conditions, circumstances, all these things happen in the journey. And so anytime you're traveling, you have to have some luggage, some baggage. Right, yeah. And so the baggage that I'm thinking about that God gave me are not necessarily bad stuff. It's who we are. And what causes conflict in relationship is we don't know each other. And the Bible say, know them that labor among you. And so we don't know somebody, we can misunderstand them very easily because the English language is so complex that you can misunderstand a single word. And so God began to tell me there's 4 things that dictate how we hear things, how we see things, and how we feel about things. And those are things that's who we are. It's our family traits, it's our beliefs, it's our habits, and our unresolved issues. Those 4 things dictate how we see life. And so when I talk to you, I speak out of those 4 things. Yeah. When you hear me out of your 4 things. Right. And so if I don't know those 4 things about you, you're going to misunderstand me, and I'm going to misunderstand you. And so God began to show me that's the ground level of how you can make a marriage work. And number 1, there are so many different things that are very important. The one most important thing in marriage and any relationship is communication. And with marriage, you have collaboration, cohabitation, consummation, consideration, commitment, all these things that are necessary to have a relationship. But in all of them, you have to have good communication.
Amen. When you talk about those 4 things too, and what they are, you're dealing with not only finding out what the other person is in those 4 things, but really knowing, solidify within yourself who you are in that process. Absolutely. Personally, talk to us about how God, showed you, before even each other.
Well, I remember that I grew up and I had a little short temper, a little patient, and God began to teach me that he has patience with us. Yes. And so we have to have patience with the one we love. And so we can't expect people, sometimes you're trying to make people be who you are. But they can't because you are you and they're them. Right. And so you can't anticipate people to be or to think like you think, to answer like you would answer. And that's where a lot of times we have a problem. And so I was very straight down the line, and that's how my mom raised us, you don't sugarcoat nothing. But you can't do that in a relationship. You have to be compassionate and so considerate. And so now I've learned that over the years, and God have presented me with my jewel, my wife, Ann Butterfield, and I'm so glad, and it's so awesome that she has the same name my mother has.
Oh, my goodness.
So I knew it was God. And so God has put it together for, it'll be 10 years next month. But God has brought us where we can walk through this book and we can understand that I know how she expressed love. I had a great relationship with her mom. So in order to know somebody, you know their mom, you'll know who they are.
Yes.
And so I had a great relationship with her mom, so I was able to glean some of her family traits, some of her habits, some of her beliefs, and then her unresolved issues. I was able to see those things, and then after I identified them, I was able to use it not for conflict, but for resolution.
Yes.
Well, if I say something that is not part of her background, I'm from the Bahamas, so we call a pot a pot. She's from Alabama. She called it a boiler.
A what?
A boiler. I don't know what a boiler was.
Look, did you see my face? I'm like, what?
What's a boiler?
So those little things, can cause a problem in a relationship. And so also.
And people would think of that as small, but it really isn't.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, whatever brings conflict
The little
is
spots that
exactly.
spoil the vine.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that we learned early on in our relationship is that nothing is petty.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If it matters to one,
matters.
it ought to matter to
Matters to
both.
both.
And, you know, the whole thing of the communication aspect and understanding how each other work, you know, for me, you know, I'm straight down the line as well, you know.
You too.
I'm straight down the line. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And so, you know, when we got together as a couple, you know, I dealt with, man, she really gets things done, but she does it differently. And so sometimes I had to just kind of like back away, leave the room, let her do her thing, because she's very relational, and I'm very like methodical, you know what I'm saying? And so we had to allow ourselves the space to be ourselves and yet get the things done. So you come into this relationship now, and you know God gives you this husband, and you come in with your 4 things in the baggage. How do you intertwine that, or how do you allow that to come into, you know, synergy?
Well, we began to communicate because I believe communication is key to a relationship. And so we also talked about, and he talks about it in the book, the love languages. So when you communicate, you will find out what the person really needs and what the person really wants. When I began to not be selfish, and he began to not be selfish, we was able to see what each other needed. And so when you do that, see, sometime in marriages, we be so selfish until we cannot see what the other person wants because our minds are so entwined and made up on what we want.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about these love languages, which the love languages, I like them all. But there are certain ones that I really, it's a little more impactful for me.
Yes, for you.
And that is intimacy, quality time.
Yes.
Quality time, and then you have gifts, sense of touch.
Yes.
Words of affirmation, you know, but mine is quality time. Even though they are all, I like them all.
Thank you. I'm with you. I like them all.
I like them all.
I like all. But I say to him all the time, just touch me.
Yeah.
Just touch me. So he doesn't have to say anything. If he touches me, whatever is bothering me,
It will help.
it just
helps.
it relieves.
Yes.
It relieves any thought of something is wrong.
Right.
And immediately I feel protected. I feel loved.
Right.
I feel a connection.
To connect.
So I know.
Right.
You guys are leading the charge to get people to know each other the way God meant for it to be. And that's an important teaching within itself, because we will take a 6-week course and say, that's how you get married. Let's take this little marriage seminar. But there's so much more to unearth, and just so glad to see that you guys are really putting together these words and then working them through in classes and in conferences and in studies to help couples get to that place where they can do that.
I think one thing that happens too is that it's one thing, and we know that when God is putting something together, when God has really knitted the hearts and the minds and everything else, there's the understanding of not only the baggage that you bring into, or whether it's good or bad, but also the attacks that you entertain through, because Satan doesn't want that to be won. And so already you have that opposition going on to make sure that it doesn't connect, because God has made us extremely powerful, and Satan knows how powerful that it is. But then to be able also not only to make you, but to use you, and delivering other people. That's really kind of I guess the focal point that I want to have, in a sense of how does God take you through not only becoming one, but being able to surmount the obstacles, to be able to have the quality time together, to put it on paper, to make sure that other people don't have the same pitfalls, because there has to be some kind of pressure, attack that happens just to be able to do that. So walk us through, because again, as couples, we want to accomplish what God has given us to not only be, but also to do. So to walk us through now that you've become, how does he manage the doing part so that you can help other people?
Yeah, the first part of the book, we talked about what those baggages are. And then we say how to handle those baggage. Because that's the question on the book. How do you handle the baggage? And the handling of the baggage is through intimacy. Now, God showed me a process. Intimacy is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And so the first thing is you have to have an encounter. An encounter is not just I know you on the outside, but an encounter is I have an experience with you.
Right.
Paul was working for God, but never met him. On the road to Damascus, he finally met him. Isaiah, in the 6th chapter, he was in the temple working. But in the 6th chapter, when King Uzziah died, he finally saw the Lord. And so we can know God from what our grandparents say, from what our mama say, but we really haven't met him. And so couples need to get to know each other, to really know each other through those things, through spending time with their family members. Because if you go to family reunion,
you find out. Yeah, you do.
You'll know. You see how, and so when you begin to see those things, then after you have an encounter with those the individual, your spouse, then you know who that person is. After the encounter, there is submission. And sometimes that's a bad word to some people, but God showed me submission is not what people say, say that it is, you're under me, but submission is understanding. And all you're getting, you can get all the wisdom you want, but please get understanding. And so if I know who you are, then now I can understand you, meaning I stand under you. Because if I stand on side by side with you, I still don't see what you see. Until I walk in your shoes, I don't know your experiences. And so a lot of times because of how we felt about something, we think our spouse should feel the same way. The way I answer a question is the way you should answer the question. The way I answer the question, no, I have to understand what your background is, how you were taught, how you were brought up. And so when I understand that, now I can don't get offended by things you say, because sometimes we say things that's offensive because of my mindset, not because you're offending me. Because, offense you got to take.
Yes.
You take offense.
Yes.
It's not something that somebody give you. You got to take it. And so we take it based on what's in us. And so after you begin to understand, and you got to get that person positioned. One day I had an example where I was at a traffic light. I was a fourth car in line, And the light turned green and nobody's moving. So I'm getting upset because it's time to go, right? But not until I got to the intersection did I realize somebody in a wheelchair was trying to get by. But where I was, I couldn't see.
Right.
So if I'm not in your shoes, I can't see what you're feeling. And so I've learned over the years that my wife tells me something that bothers her, I can't say that shouldn't bother you because I didn't mean that. No, that's her feeling. So I have to address it and say, I understand, forgive me. And then say, okay, well, I looked at it that way, so we can have an understanding.
Yes.
After you understand, then you begin to transform.
Right.
There's so much meat there. There's so much to delve into in a relationship with a husband and wife that really overflows to the family. And just so glad that you guys are really pushing forward the thoughts and the ways of being that are necessary. Tell us about your website, and so we can find out more of what's going on and what's coming down the pike for you.
We are so grateful. We have, our website is Marriage Utopia, because we want people to experience the marriage that God always wanted us to have.
Amen.
So
Amen.
Utopia, Marriage Utopia, the website is marriageutopia.org. Go to that website in April, and later on this year we're having a conference that's coming up, Marriage Utopia Conference, and we invite everybody to come by, go to the website and get registered, and we would be glad to have you. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have great speakers, panel speakers, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Amen, amen. Well, we want everybody to get involved with that. That is marriageutopia.org, and you can get in touch with Stephen and Ann Butterfield by going to the website and getting involved with everything that they're doing. The book, order it, get involved, because you need to know what your 4 things and her 4 things and his 4 things.
And get it right.
And get it right and make it happen.
Get it right.